Hello there, I'm Jimmy Vegas, and Nintendo is suing the creators of PALWORLD. Weirdly, it's not because all the characters look like Pokemon, which yes they do, that they are quite clearly based off something that looks like a Pokemon, but you can't sue somebody just because it looks a little bit like what we imagine a Pokemon could or should look like. That's not how it works. The reason Nintendo is suing PALWORLD is because of the PALsphere. Now, if you don't know, the PALsphere is something you throw at a PAL and it captures it. Does that sound familiar? Well, yeah, you throw a Pokeball and capture a Pokemon. Now, the difference here is in the mechanics of what the ball or sphere does. So a Pokeball is hinged. It opens, catches it, goes together, drops to the floor. That's how you capture a Pokemon. A PALsphere is like a thing that you throw. It opens up, it splits in half, the PAL goes in, it closes, and then it disappears. Now, they are fundamentally the same thing. However, what Nintendo has patented is the idea of Pokemon going in and a Pokeball closing and dropping. That's Nintendo's patent. PALspheres don't do that. Is Nintendo right to try this? They'll try anything. They want to protect their intellectual properties at any costs, even if it's remotely similar. But remember what I said about they cannot do it because something looks a little bit like what we imagine a Pokemon would look like. That's what everybody thought they were going to go after. But it turns out that isn't the case. It's the PALsphere. Now, what do you think a PALsphere and a Pokeball have in common? They both hold enemies or Pokemons or pals or some kind of creature. They hold them mythically inside. That in and of itself is not patented. The patent is the idea of capturing a Pokemon into a Pokeball and holding it in there, not the actual contents. So a PALsphere holds the actual PAL, but it isn't even a sphere, it's just what it's called. Now, if this does end up going to court, I do think Nintendo will win. You could argue that, yes, what I said earlier in this video, that a PAL goes into a PALsphere, but it splits in half and then it dissipates into the ether. Yes, that is different to what a Pokeball does, but fundamentally it is the exact same thing. Nintendo has a lot of money to throw behind this, and is it fair on a little creator? Well, yes and no. Nintendo are right to try this because, well, it is patented, but they're also in the wrong for trying it so shittily. Because let's face it, we all know Nintendo doesn't like it because they look like Pokemon. That's the reason Nintendo is doing this, because they're getting around that by trying to go after the PALsphere. They're trying to send a message. And even if this does not go to court, even if it gets dismissed in PALWORLD creators' favour, forget what they're called, in their favour, it's still sent a message. And that's sad. Nintendo is a sad company for doing this, but you can't blame them for at least trying to protect their intellectual property. It's a complicated one, and with all the other shit that's going on in the world right now with the PS5 Pro, with Concord costing $400 million to Sony. Oh, that's a tough one. What do you think about it? As someone who has played PALWORLD, I can't see Nintendo being in the right, really, but they are to protect the patents. But as somebody who hasn't played PALWORLD, what do you think?